station and got those nasty hot dogs.
You need to have like someone prep you something, so you run in the door, you get the one. Oh, never mind.
All right, shall we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make sure your mic's on, Laura, at the nose light.
Yeah.
And it's 7:08.
Okay, oops. We need to look to accept the minutes first from the previous meeting.
Do you want to do them all as one motion, or?
There's only
There's
the
only
one.
one. I have a couple
I
of
thought there were
corrections.
two. Oh, public and non-public?
No.
No, there's
No.
only one. The rest of them
No.
were.
What's the question?
What did I read?
You resent, or you sent final drafts of the retreat minutes, like just for.
But
Oh,
those
that's-
those
those
have
are
all
already
been
approved.
approved.
Those have already been
That's what
approved. It was
Those
just.
I
were
said
already
approved minutes,
Yeah.
and then just this,
That's what it
June
was.
19th is the only one that's,
Okay.
So I had one comment, because it wasn't clear to me what you were trying to write. It's letter F, Library Building Committee.
yep.
We're meeting on August 8th with all
It says
those.
will meet prior to, the building committee will meet prior to August 8th.
But we're actually meeting on the 8th.
But
So I didn't know
but
if
we're
that
also
meant-
meeting prior to.
No, actually, it means before August 8th. But for, that's,
see what you're
I
saying.
wrote, I took that in my notes. For some reason, somebody had said that.
Yeah, I
but-
didn't know if it mattered, so I was just finding out if
no,
it
I see what you're
mattered.
saying.
It doesn't matter. It's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, well, I'll cross out
So-
prior to and just
Well,
leave it.
we are meeting prior to August 8th. And then
then
with at
everybody.
August 8th, we're meeting with everybody.
So maybe that's.
I'm leaving it alone.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
good for me.
Okay, I had a correction on G,
Gee.
Investment committee.
the bold print.
Yeah,
Move that the Library Board of Trustees accept the proposed trustee guidelines. Actually, you should put in the title, which is Guidelines for the Management of Library Funds.
yep.
With the addition of the treasurer clears all bank statements, et cetera. That line, that sentence, goes under the treasurer section of the guidelines.
Mm-hmm,
Okay? I just wasn't sure if that was clear.
mm-hmm.
I think that was it.
Okay, I can fix that.
Does anyone else have any?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Oh, I
with
do.
the-
Excuse me, hold on, one thing.
then-
Oh, it was a question, it's a director question. I didn't, on page 4, I didn't know what, Lita Judge was.
Rita Judge was the author
Yeah.
Oh, the author.
who came
Okay,
and
that's, now it rings a bell.
did the humorous stories about New Hampshire.
Cutting the cheese.
Yes.
No.
No, that was,
she's
no,
Mary's
that was Rebecca
monster.
Rule.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, that was Rebecca
Rebecca
Rule.
Mary's
Lita
monster.
Judge was also an author, though.
Right.
Yes,
she
she's
did
also-
Mary's Monster, like graphic young adult.
That's what it
Graphic
was,
young
yeah.
adult.
Not
Right.
novel.
Monster?
Okay.
Mary's Monster, about Mary Shelley, who wrote the Frankenstein
Oh, yes, oh, nice,
story.
Good.
okay, all right. So any other discussion or corrections on the minutes for June 19th? No,
I'll make the
okay,
motion to
all in
approve.
favor?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
All right, so that is passed. Yay.
And since we have the
Yeah.
Dennis from the science, can we,
Yes, we should take that
I
first.
know, I'm suggesting, can we go out of order?
What?
Can we go out of order since we have Dennis from the
Yes.
science?
If you'll
Denis.
give me a chance.
It's Denis.
Oh, is it
It's
Denny?
Denis.
In English, it's Denny.
All right, before we do that, we're just going to go through the committee updates. The Friends of the Library are on hiatus for the summer.
The Development Fund is not meeting until October.
Can you wait a sec, because
Yes.
I have to catch up, and, yeah,
We're under committee
wait one sec.
updates.
No, yeah, but I'm not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Friends, go ahead. On hiatus,
Friends is on hiatus for the summer.
yeah.
The Development Fund will meet in October. The Library Building Development and Marketing Committee are on hiatus. Is there anything to report from Town Center?
No,
Okay. On hiatus for the summer?
no, it's day after tomorrow.
Okay. Next meeting is Friday. And then the turkey shoot will probably be convening in a couple of months. Okay, so before we go any further, that was just housekeeping to get out of the way. So before anything else, we would like to introduce Dennis Maltus. He is from Classic Signs, Inc., Image Consultants.
I am.
And he is here to talk about the electric sign that we are looking into purchasing for the library.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So a little background on myself. I started in the sign business in 1971, and I come up through the ranks of production, and I built signs for many years. I did an actual apprenticeship in the sign business back when you did apprenticeships. No one does that any longer. I worked for Jutra Signs in Manchester for 10 years, and I've only worked for 4 sign companies in my entire career. Tri-State Signs is the next place where I worked for quite a few years. And then I went back and forth between Barlow Signs and Jutra Signs a few times. I ended up spending 27 years of my career working for Barlow Signs. And, come up through the ranks building signs, and then eventually did estimating and purchasing, and I migrated into sales in 1998. And since 1998, I've sold about $25 million worth of signs in my career. Typically, I do over $1 million a year in sales. So I bring to the table a lot of expertise. I know a lot about signs. I've built many, many different types of signs, and all I've ever tried to do is just help people understand the benefit of signage and how important signage is to conveying your message to the public. And what brings me here today is I'm friends with Yvette. Her husband played bass in one of my bands. And last year, Yvette just sent me a cryptic note saying, can you help me with an electronic sign? They're electronic signs, by the way. And so I said, absolutely, that's what I do. And I've sold many, many. I've placed many. One good example is the Casino Ballroom, Hampton Beach. They had a monochrome sign, and what a monochrome sign is, and I'll explain a little bit more of that in a few minutes, but all it displayed was text. So for many years, you'd see George Thorogood and the Destroyers playing Friday Night just in text. And it took me 2 years to convince them to upgrade to a 12 millimeter full color RGB sign, and they finally agreed to do it. And now they display a full-color photo of George Thorogood with text and moving messages, and then it rotates to the next act showing. They love it, and it's just increased their ability to communicate to the public by 100-fold over cryptic, static messages of red copy versus full-color photos. So that brings me to, the situation that you folks have. And what we're talking about is this sign in particular, which is on the far side of the library building. What's wonderful about this location, though, is that you have a captive audience of traffic heading southbound that are stuck at the light, twiddling their thumbs for minutes, who can read your sign. And what's unfortunate about a static message plastic reader board sign like this, and what we are seeing internationally, is this is going the way of the dinosaur, and everyone is migrating to electronic technology. And the reason for that is, and what Yvette has explained to me, when they need to change this sign, she's got to break out a step ladder go up there and take our life into our own hands and change the messages. And to do that, you have to go to a box that has a library of letters, A through Z, and numbers, and with your message, and pull out and create the message, and then you put them on there. Well, in winter when it's 0 degrees, no one and his brother would want to go out there and change the message on that sign. So that message is going to stay there for a long time until it's warm enough or someone has the guts to go out and change it. So static messages tend to stay on the sign longer than they should. And people have become hardened to them. They don't even look at that technology anymore. They don't read it. They don't care about it. It's old-fashioned. And they go right by without getting any messages from the library. So the study that I've done, I've just took a larger view of that sign in order for me to, I've measured it. So I'm trying to place a sign on the building that is as close to the existing square footage as possible, so that you're really not recreating the wheel, you're just changing the technology of how you'll communicate to that captive audience that you have. So I studied really 3 different options. One is the old-fashioned monochrome messaging. Now, this is, and the only manufacturers are phasing monochrome signs out. So even buying parts for these signs in 5 years may not even be available any longer, because the price point for monochrome signs, and this in this particular case is only available in 16 millimeter. And
What does that mean?
to explain what that is, the measurement between pixels. This is a good diagram that shows that. All right. Years ago, 20 millimeter was the standard. Everybody put up 20 millimeter signs. You drive by 20 millimeter signs still today, they're kind of fuzzy looking. That's because the pixels are 20 millimeters center to center, and that's a pretty far distance. So there's few pixels in a 20 millimeter sign. Then a few years went by, the technology changed, it became 16 millimeter, and then everybody started buying 16 millimeter signs. That's a 16 millimeter resolution. It's higher resolution, there's more pixels in the sign, they're closer together, but not by much. Then the technology went to 12 millimeter. This is 12, I'm sorry, I'm not showing 12 millimeter, but in between these two is 12 millimeter. And there's a lot of 12 millimeter signs out there. I have some photo examples I can show you. But today the standard is 10 millimeter. Now if you look at the difference in resolution between 10 and 16, this is a 16 millimeter sign. So monochrome text at 16 millimeter is kind of fuzzy. And all you can display on a sign like this is text only. You could put a photo up there, but it looks really crappy. So you wouldn't want to do that.
And it can only be one color?
Monochrome is one color. There's 2 options. You can get red or amber. Some folks prefer the amber. Like you wouldn't put a red sign in front of a hospital. You'd put an amber sign in front of a hospital.
Would the monochrome red sign, would it have moving print, or is it all static?
You can animate the print. Well, the software allows you to do some very interesting things. You can have the message sparkle on or wipe on, or there's different special effects. In my opinion, you don't want to do too much of that because it distracts from the message. And the point is to get the message. So you display your message for the amount of time that you're allowed to put it on the board, then you put up your next message. So the next thing I looked at, and I've quoted, and you folks have proposals for all these options. All right. Obviously, the 12 millimeter board is the least expensive option. I don't recommend it because the manufacturers are phasing that out, and the reason is, used to be color signs were way up here in price, monochrome signs were way down here in price. But as the technology improves, you're seeing this happen, and the color signs now are still more money than monochrome, but not that much more. So the buying public internationally have migrated to buy color signs. They'll spend the extra money, they'll get as high a resolution color sign as they can afford, and this will be supported long stream, where monochrome will eventually be phased out. So
I have a question.
certainly.
On the materials that we were sent, for our last meeting, the monochrome sign was described as a 16 millimeter monochrome.
That's correct.
Now, you just said 12 meter.
They do not
Millimeter.
manufacture 12 millimeter monochrome signs any longer. You can only get a 16 millimeter monochrome sign, and that's part of what they're phasing out. They used to be able to get higher resolution monochrome signs. All the manufacturers are putting their manufacturing money into color RGB signs, which is what's standard.
What do you mean by RGB?
Red, green, blue.
Oh.
And what that means is a pixel is a combination of a red and a green and a blue pixel, just like a TV set. That's a pixel. So each one of those dots is an RGB pixel. And when you stand back and you look at a high resolution electronic sign, your eye kind of corrects over the spacing, and you see a nice clear picture of whatever you feel like displaying. And that's completely up to you. So to continue on in my study, very good at this stuff. In the RGB world, you can get a 12 millimeter RGB sign. But if you notice, and it's very hard to depict this in 2D, so I did my best to convey that the resolution is lower than a 10 millimeter sign. So here is a visual comparison of higher resolution 10 millimeter RGB versus a little bit lower resolution 12 millimeter RGB. The messages and the photos and the text will be a little fuzzier, a little harder to read. And higher resolution, they're crisper, the photos look fantastic, and this is really what will take you the longest downstream.
Yeah,
So
what millimeter is that one?
this is a 10 millimeter
That's a 10.
representation. It's a 2D representation. You almost have to, and I know some of you folks have driven around and looked at some of these displays. Really, the best place to go is Manchester. There's quite a few 12 millimeter, and there are some 10 millimeter displays in Manchester. But what I'm trying to convey is that at this juncture, you should try to make the smartest purchase that you can. It's a little bit more money to buy a 10 millimeter sign, but this is the industry standard that's going to be supported long term downstream. You'll be happy with this display in 10 years. All right? If you buy a 16 millimeter monochrome sign, in 2 years, you're going to say, that's not doing it for us anymore. We should replace it with a color sign. It won't take you downstream long term, where the proper purchase today, even though it's a little bit more money, will make you happy with the displays that you're putting on this sign long term. So what this is this is a product that I represent Optec. Optec is the manufacturer. I've sold all of the largest international manufactured product available. There's Watchfire, there's Optec, there's Daktronics. They're the three big players in the world. Watchfire is the Cadillac. It's a beautiful product, but it's also the highest priced spread you can buy. And I've sold a few Watchfires in my career. You put a Watchfire next to an Optec, you cannot tell the difference. Optec does a great job. They come in with a reasonable price point. Their rep is a friend of mine also. His name is Freddie Pino. He lives on the west side of Manchester. And he will actually be coming down to install the software on a computer in the library, and we'll train you folks how to run the software. So the sign comes with software, and the way you communicate to the sign, in this particular case, we've quoted, it's a cell modem in the sign. It's a broadband system, and it comes with a lifetime data plan, paid for, as included in the price. So you never have to buy a data plan. And the reason that that's the best choice for communication, there's different ways to communicate to the signs. You can use fiber optic cable, you can use Cat5 cable, you can use RF radio frequency, which is an antenna on the roof and an antenna on the sign. I've done all these things. Banks, hospitals, municipalities all want the cell modem because it's encrypted. You cannot bust into this software. So it's protected, but it also offers you the opportunity to program remotely.
So
So
Yvette could update the sign from her home if she wanted to.
exactly right. So Yvette could actually have the software installed on her laptop and call up the sign from home and say the library is closed due to a snow day today, and have that display on the sign. The way that you program a sign like this, you need to think about it in terms of PowerPoint. It's very similar to a PowerPoint presentation, where you actually will sit in front of the software. The software will put up an image, and the Optech rep will make sure that the correct image is displayed that is in scale to the sign. If the sign has, this is 120 by 240 matrix. What that means is there's 120 lines of resolution by 240 lines of rows of LEDs in the sign. The software will display on screen a matrix that's 120 by 240. So when you import a photo into that matrix on your screen of your computer, it will display on the sign properly. So you get this software, and then you create a series of slides. And each slide, you can have the slide, the industry standard is every 5 seconds. I believe in Merrimack, though, and you folks are a municipal organization owned by the town. So you may not have to follow the same criteria that they make a gas station or a car manufacturer or somebody up the road. I believe it's 30 minutes is what they maintain for
Something like that,
the length of time for display. Industry standard is every 5 seconds. So that means you can have a series of 60 slides, 5 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
This is what's happening in the library today. This is what's happening at the library tomorrow. This is what's happening this weekend. We're having an outdoor event and a picnic. This is what's happening. We're having a book signing on February 3rd. But you can also, within the software, you can program it based on dates and times. So you can tell, you can create a series of slides that are being held by the software for Valentine's Day and say, on the day before Valentine's Day, I want this series of slides to pop up. So it's tied to the calendar, and once you get proficient at programming the software, it's not that difficult either. It's very similar to PowerPoint, where you're just creating a bunch of slides, but in addition to that, you can tell each slide when and how long you want it to display on the sign.
How far in advance can you program it out?
A year, even longer, I believe.
Nice.
But
Okay.
Some of these technical questions are going to be best answered by Freddie Pino when he's sitting in front of the computer with Yvette to install the software, or whoever is assigned the task. And I'd recommend a couple of people get training, because you should always cross-train, But it's very versatile, and you can display a lot of information on a sign like that. And what does that gain you? That gains you the ability to communicate 100 messages a day to how many cars are going by the library? Probably 20,000 a day. It's probably in that neighborhood. How many messages do you get into those cars with this? If you have a message popping up every 5 seconds, and you've got 20,000 cars, our studies say that there's, I think it's 2.3 pairs of eyeballs per car, times 20,000. So 2.3 times 20,000 is, I don't know, 50,000. They're advertising hits is what they are. And that's in the retail world, that's the approach we take. You have an advertising budget. You're spending money on radio and newspaper and TV ads, and you're advertising outside of your general area. You're spending radio money to broadcast to people in Massachusetts who are never going to come to your facility. With this is point of sale advertising. So you are broadcasting your messages, your 100, 200 messages a day. I mean, how many do you think you could put on there? A lot. To the people who are going to come to the library. They're neighborhood folks. They're driving by here 4 times a day, going to work or going to the store or whatever, with their kids in the car, and the kids see a really cool message about some child event that you're having here at the library. a book signing of a children's book author or something really cool, the kids are going to say, I want to go to that. And you got that message into their heads by them seeing one of the slides on this display. So if you're smart enough to spend the correct money and buy a 10 millimeter sign, which is what I highly recommend, and I've sold a few, and people are very happy with them, it will take you the longest downstream so that you'll be happy with this display. 10 years from now, it'll still be cranking out messages for you folks. It'll look smashing. That'll take you long stream. It's a wise investment of your money. If you don't spend the right money today and you buy too low a resolution sign, you're going to reach a point where it's no longer serving you well, and you're going to want to replace it. And there are many examples where I've sold 3 to people. I sold a monochrome sign many years ago. Then they upgraded to like a 16 millimeter color. Now they all have 10 millimeter colors. Higher resolution signs are coming, but they really are only effective for walking traffic. They're 6 millimeter signs, but the more LEDs you pack into a sign, the price just goes right through the roof. You don't need to spend money on a 6 millimeter sign. That's designed for, like I said, walking traffic in a mall, or in front of a retail store where you walk right by the sign. For driving, presentation 10 millimeter does a great job, and it will look smashing. So go ahead.
It's on 24/7, 365 days a year. What's the electricity cost on it?
I believe I gave, I don't have that data with me. I answered that question for Yvette, and she has that in her coffers. And I can reiterate that to her, but it's, their LEDs are low voltage.
Yes.
So an LED sign, first of all, you have a 110 20 amp circuit servicing that existing electric sign. And what's illuminating that electric sign are 800 milliamp fluorescent bulbs. It's using a lot of electricity, okay?
More than what we
This
get will pay.
electronic sign will operate on that same 110 circuit, so you're not going to have have to hire an electrician to run any new or boost the power. Plenty of power there to run it. It's probably like 54 cents a day, something like that.
It's like 43.
But don't quote me
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
I'm
Yvette
thought it was
gave
like
us,
43.
I know she mentioned the.
yeah, I don't have the number in my
She
head,
said.
so I apologize. I wasn't prepared to answer that question,
all right.
but I have already answered it for Yvette.
Yeah, I know she
And
had that number.
I can revisit that again and make sure you folks have that information. But the manufacturer does provide all of that.
What about a warranty?
It's a 5-year warranty from the manufacturer for parts and labor. And the reason they offer a 5-year warranty is because I've got millions of dollars of these signs out there in the field, rarely ever service them. They just crank. They work. They work great. They work at the seacoast with salt air. They work in 30, they're rated down to 30 below zero. They would easily work in a 120-degree summer day. They're in Texas. They're all over the world. They're in Dubai. They're designed specifically to handle a wide range of temperatures. They also have venting and cooling fans in them to exhaust heat out of them. So.
One of the examples Yvette pointed us to was down at Campers Inn. Is that the same as this one that we're
I'm
looking
not
at?
familiar with what resolution that is,
Okay, I wasn't
but
sure if
I
it
would
was the
venture to
same.
guess it's either a 12 or a 16 millimeter. I mean, I can dig out some photos here if you folks want to see a couple of examples.
Can you please hold up the picture you have of our current sign on the building?
You betcha.
It's
Well,
right,
this is
it's the top one. No, I want the one, that
That
one.
one?
When I look at that, it looks to me like the sign is a little small for the space.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Is this new sign roughly the same size?
It's roughly the same
Right,
size.
but to me, it looks a little small for that space. Does anyone else have any thoughts about that? Just from
It's
a,
not that bad when you drive
and
by
I
it.
just,
though.
yeah, and I wonder about where the person stood. and the camera.
Well, it's
angle.
designed to expose to the driving lane.
No, what I meant was the way that picture looks. I think that looks smaller than when I'm sitting there looking
Yeah,
at
when you're
it.
looking
looks
at it in
bigger.
reality, it
Well, if
looks
you're
different.
sitting in your car, if you're close to it, it tends to look bigger because you're coming at from the other angle. That looks like it's kind of a straight-on photo to
That's
me.
just-
An LED sign will be considerably brighter and much more visible and will do a much better job.
I just thought the size didn't look proportional to the space.
I'd be happy to sell you a much bigger sign. But
I
I
didn't know if
sized
anybody
it
else
the
thought
same
the
as
same
what
thing.
was existing because
Yeah, the
I know in
dimensions are the
towns,
same, though.
it's, in order for these to be approved, it's best not to rock the boat from a square footage perspective. And the sign will be so bright, and you could in fact put very large letters. I mean, this is a matrix, so it's basically a blank screen. You can put sale, big giant letters on there, or you can put 4 rows of copy. You could put a photo and put copy over the photo. You could have the photo slide in. You could have the text drop down. You could have it sparkle on, sparkle off. There's a lot of special effects like that. It will also display animation. So you may have seen some signs that will show like fireworks or a waving flag. The software comes with animation. There's also content available from Optech. And also Optech offers webinar training so that if at any point in time you need additional training or a new person to be trained, you can just call up
It's just
Optech and
smaller.
schedule to get on a webinar and
Not a lot.
Would there be a
provide you
cost
training.
for that?
No, you become an Optech user, part of the Optech user group. So, for within your warranty period, you could get additional training, no problem.
Within the warrant, but after the warranty period, you cannot.
I'll
Hopefully
find
after
out
5
the
years,
answer
there's
to
enough
that.
people who know how to use it.
I'm tight with Freddie Pino, the rep. I could probably hook you guys up.
Do we have to, I lost my train of thought. Oh, do we have to, you said it comes with animation and all these other features. Are there other features that it does not come with that we might be interested in purchasing? Are there other features you can buy?
Yes.
And what would those be?
There are actual folks out there in the country that will provide you with programming services for a fee. You can hire an advertising agency. There are people that all they do is sit at home and program signs like this for people all over. But they charge a service for that.
Right.
Well, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking
There's
if,
other content available. There's CDs that you can get from Optech that are just jam-packed with additional animation and fonts, and there's all kinds of things available.
so it comes with a set
Yeah.
package
Software
of
comes with a set
its
package of
type of one type
capabilities.
of animation, one type of font.
No, there'll be several animation files. There'll be several fonts you can choose.
So there's
you can
choices like in a
import Type
PowerPoint.
1 fonts. So, I mean, if it's on a Windows-based machine, you can bring anything in. You can import and display any type of any photo. There's a wide variety of file types that are compatible with the software. AVI flicks, MOV flicks, 2-type fonts, Type 1 fonts. It's compatible with a lot of things.
So even when we have it like a PowerPoint, you can import
Yeah.
other things to
Absolutely.
it that would be stored in its
Yes, ma'am.
hard drive.
Nice.
Now you can go out. I mean, what I recommend that you be careful what you go. If like you just go to Google Images and you import a low resolution photo, and you display a low resolution photo on a large screen like this, it's going to look kind of crappy. You want a high resolution TIFF image, or you really want to pay attention to the resolution of the photos that you're importing. I just grabbed this off your website because I wanted to just display an image that was, connected to the library. But when you actually put up really good quality photos, relatively in scale you don't want to squeeze them. You see people squash photos and then it looks weird. So those are things you need to develop some skills in the programming world. But anybody who's programmed the PowerPoint presentation will be able to do this standing on their ear. No problem.
Okay.
So
I have 2 questions. Is this all Windows-based?
No, they're compatible with Macs also.
Mac, okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question was...
You're going to be actually communicating by calling it up on a cell phone.
Okay,
So the software can be installed on a Mac.
okay.
But the world is kind of PC based, unfortunately, because there's just so darn many of them out there.
Sure.
And you know, Macs are wonderful devices, but they're a little bit more difficult to get under the hood and tweak. So you know, a lot of folks prefer the Windows-based machines because you can actually get in there and find
Sure.
your stuff. You know.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So just to show you a couple of quick examples, this is the Verizon Wireless Arena in Manchester. And that's the first
Oh, yeah.
sign that they put up,
I've
which
seen
was a
that one.
monochrome
Hope you
display.
flipped.
Oops, I'm sorry. Well, hang on 1 second here.
Now, let's assume that there are like 60 slides, for lack of a better word. In terms of storage, how does that work? I mean,
So is there
So you're-
storage
are they
capacity?
Storage is
Stored
really,
on the sign or on a
yeah,
computer?
how are they stored?
there's RAM built into the sign.
Okay,
So the messages are actually fairly small.
okay.
Here's a car wash in Manchester with a monochrome sign.
Yeah,
So you can
I
see
know
it's
that
kind
one.
of fuzzy.
Yep.
So it has,
Yeah,
what's
the
its
police station up the
maximum,
road here has
Yeah,
a
it's
monochrome.
fuzzy.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
What's
You
it-
see how that's kind
yeah.
of a little fuzzy?
what's its maximum storage capacity?
I don't know the answer to that, but you know, I think you're going to find that the messages are very small, and you'd probably be able to put a year's worth of messages into the darn things real easy.
Jeez.
Okay.
Here's a higher resolution full color display for it's a real estate firm. So that's probably a 12 millimeter, which is a little lower resolution than a 10 millimeter. But I mean, now you're looking at what a full color display can do, an RGB display. You can put a photo, you can put text over it, phone numbers, anything you want. And what's nice is you can put the photo up, then you can have the text slide in on top of it.
Right.
You can animate the text in a lot of different ways. The software is really kind of cool. So there was that Verizon Wireless sign. Here's Mom's South down in Foxborough, which was their original sign that they had, and that's what we upgraded them to with
Wow.
a full colored. But that's a low resolution color display. You see what I'm talking about? How kind of fuzzy that is.
Yeah.
So that's an earlier. That's probably a 20 millimeter earlier RGB display. So that's, you know, there's not as many lines of resolution up or rows across, so it doesn't really display as cleanly.
Okay, I think we have a good idea what the difference is. Thank you.
I mean, I have more I can show you, but I should have just.
I think we get the
singled out
idea.
Mostly those.
Thank you.
I'm good, I'm sold.
So, can you,
Where's that picture? Hang on 1 second. That's what I used to look like.
Oh, jeez.
I weighed 480 pounds once. Can you believe that?
Well, congratulations that
That
you are no
was
longer
me
in that
years
state.
ago.
oh my goodness.
I'm half the man I used to be.
So can you please tell this, one you're talking about this evening,
The Optec 10 millimeter
the 10
option?
millimeter,
Mhm.
and what is the size again, please? Do you have the dimensions or not?
It is on.
It's right here.
Is that this one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't bring it.
Yes, it's
Oh, we have it.
47
Okay, never
and a
mind.
quarter inches by 94 and a half inches.
Which is about the same size as what we have now.
Yeah, in fact, this is overlaid directly. That's why I did this larger view, so that I could actually show you exactly the size comparison of the two
It
units.
actually looks a little,
It
It
might
is
be a
thinner.
touch shorter, but it's so much more effective an advertising tool. It's such a much brighter sign.
Can you control the brightness?
Yes, they call those nits, N-I-T-S, and it actually self-adjusts so that it's less bright at night.
Nice.
In the broad sunlight, it will recognize it needs to pump up the action
Good.
to compete with the sun, but it can also be done manually within the software.
Okay.
There are some very conservative communities that mandate that you can't have a sign display any more than 7,200 nits, and then they make you go out there with a lumen meter and measure lumens.
Sure.
And that's one of the biggest crazy things to do in the sign business, because there's absolutely no way to measure lumens, because you have the moon, you have stars, you have street lights, you have car lights, there's so many competing light elements out there. There's no way. You'd have to be in a completely black environment and turn on the light so you can measure the lumens of that light. It doesn't exist anywhere on planet Earth, so you can't measure lumens.
Okay.
But
Can you,
you can adjust the nits, though.
can you repeat for us what the cost of this one that you're speaking of is?
Sure can. The proposal that I provided for the 10 millimeter option is $25,152, and that's complete and installed with a 5-year warranty, and that includes the cell phone with data plan for communications, and that includes the rep installing the software and some basic training.
That's what I was gonna say, the
Yeah,
training.
you'll get some basic training, and it's like once you get a hook of how to mess with the software, then it only becomes limited by your imagination.
It seems pretty, one of the things, once you learn it, you just kind of know it.
There's reasons why that folks all over the world are migrating to this technology to communicate with the public, because it just works. It works.
Can you tell me what the next size up is, please?
The next size up?
Yeah. I'm just
I
curious.
can't answer that right now, because they're actually made, each millimeter has a different size board, and they're hot swappable boards. What that means is you can put a tool in, you can, while the sign's operating, say you have a board malfunction within the warranty period, we'd send a tech down, we'd actually order a replacement board, we'd show up with the replacement board, pull the other board out, there's a ribbon cable on the back, you plug in the new board, you pop it in, it's hot swappable. And they would, if there's any, any electronic device fails in the first 3 months, say there's a power supply that was defective from the factory or something like that, they would just ship it out, we'd swap it out. All it would take would be a phone call in a few days, and I'd get it fixed for you.
So these come in.
So the different modules, different millimeters have different module size. So, I mean, I can basically scale this up to any size you want. There's no limitation. I mean, we've done huge signs like
Price
this.
So they're custom.
Yes.
They're custom sized.
They're custom sized. I've sized this particular unit to be as close to your existing size sign as possible.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. So I specifically asked the manufacturer, give me a sign as close to this as possible, and they came back with the 47 and a quarter inch by 94 and a half
Yeah.
inch.
Well, because it just looks a bit narrow to me, and so I was wondering if there was a next size up.
There are larger signs. I can increase the size of it for you. The price goes up.
I understand that.
If you'd
So
like
that
to.
it
not a
wouldn't look
standard.
so squished.
There's no such
There's no
thing.
standard, it's what your
Colors or
customer
something?
needs.
But it could
It
look
looks
squished
squishy to me.
just because of the picture that's in it.
Yeah, the picture is squished.
She's correct, though, the inches, it is narrower.
It's smaller this way,
Right.
and
But it's a
it
different
looks
kind of image.
squished to me.
Yeah.
And if it was a little more square, it wouldn't look so squished.
Well, you don't really display. A TV is not square.
Well, no, they make them rectangular now.
Well,
They used to be
Our
square.
sign
Call it
is
a-
54 by
Back in the
97.
day.
Your sign is 54.
54 by 97, this
But-
sign is
But
47 and a
how much
quarter
of
by
that sign is
94 and a half.
Yeah,
retainer?
this is smaller, and I kind of,
Well, I'm
like the
I'm
bigger
working
sign.
on the visual opening, which is the white area, not the
Right.
retainer. The retainer is adding an additional 6 inches, 3 inches top and bottom, and 3 inches left and right of sign space that you don't see.
Stop. Say that again. What you're presenting to us is the part that we see,
Yes,
the actual
they call it the
picture,
visual opening, or the VO.
is the size of what that sign is
Yes.
now.
Yes.
It's the casing that is
Casing
larger.
in this particular case has, if you can see, there's an aluminum retainer around the perimeter of the sign
Yeah,
that is 3 inches wide.
I don't know,
So-
it still looks squishy to me.
I'm happy to, I'm happy to give you a bigger sign if that would make you
Well,
happy. But I can
can-
tell you
can-
that once you're used to programming your photos to fit the scale of the sign, it's gonna look smashing, and you'll be able to see it a quarter mile down the road.
Well, I don't question that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, to my eye, it looks squished.
You
And
mean
if it
squished
was a
the
little
box itself, or you mean the
it's
image is squished?
more narrow. The whole thing looks squished to
Well,
me.
it's similar in I'm forgetting the term, but you know, a TV is 16 by 9, I believe,
Right,
Yep.
yeah.
and there's a term for that. It's
Dimensions
escaping me.
or,
But photos are displayed in that resolution, in that configuration. Also, you don't have a square. No one has a square sign like
Oh,
this, and
nobody
then
does
photos
squares anymore.
won't look correct on a square sign. So it really should be in a similar vein to a TV screen, and I mean that's what you're getting, is that same type of. I'll have to look up that term so that I can remember it the next time. But it's the same basic layout as a TV screen. And TV screens are shorter than and wider. I mean, it's like a high def screen is built that way.
Yeah.
It's like aspect ratio or something?
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gold star for this young man. Yes, it's the aspect ratio, and it's designed to be very similar to a TV aspect ratio. I'm gonna make a note of that so I remember it.
Okay.
I got one. I don't want to change the subject if you still.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the last question I had is the durability. So, like, if we had a storm like today and a branch flies into the sign, how durable are these signs?
There's nothing in this world that Mother Nature can't
Well, yeah,
decide
nothing's unbreakable.
to
but,
crash on you, but the LEDs are very rugged and they're sprayed with a polymer. It used to be they had a Lexan cover over them. The old monochrome signs, they came with a Lexan cover. Well, the problem with that is it developed condensation and it got faded over time, and you couldn't see the message through it. And so the manufacturers have purposely developed the product so that the LEDs are exposed, but they spray a clear polymer film over the LEDs. So they're very rugged,
Okay.
and they'll take a hammer hit.
Are they resistant to salt?
Yes, well, I was mentioning I have that display at the Casino Ballroom in Hampton Beach. There are some of these electronic signs on the side of boats out in the ocean. So, I mean, salt eventually will permeate. I don't care what you put out there; it'll eat steel, you know. But they're using them on. They put them on the bottom of airplane wings. It's crazy what they do with them. But though they're designed to be to hold up in beach weather. So inland like this, you'll have no problems.
Okay. Well, we do have to move on. Does
Okay.
anyone have anything else to say or any questions?
No.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
11 by
Okay.
17,
Sure.
but you should focus on the 10 millimeter. I'm just
same.
saying. I left a book like this with.
Yep.
but
Yes.
Yeah, she had it in we have a drawer with our
Okay.
documents.
Thanks.
And I'm a phone call away. If you have any
Okay,
other
thank you for your time.
any other questions, call me
Good.
anytime.
Okay.
You just put those over there. Yep.
Hey, there's
And
another
have a
page.
place to rest.
Thank
for
you.
now.
I kind of live, eat, and breathe signage. But, I'm not a high-pressure sales guy. My whole way of doing business is you need help to make a decision. I'm here to just try and help you.
Yep.
And, it's worked pretty well for me. Because I know a lot about signs.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice to meet you all.
Likewise.
Drive safely.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Call if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, see you folks.
Thank you.
Okay. So do we want to have any discussion about that? We've spent almost an hour on that. I thought maybe we might move on for our meeting
I'm
and,
all good with it, but we probably want to wait till Yvette's with us before we.
So we'll table it.
yeah, we're not gonna vote right now.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, so we'll hold on that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We were using the
Town funds.
what's the word?
I don't know.
Encumbered?
Encumbered funds.
Oh,
right?
yes,
So do
we voted to
already
keep
voted.
them
already- yeah,
uncovered,
we've already
All we needed
voted
to vote
keep
on
it.
was
whether we
which
wanted it or,
which sign.
Yeah, which sign?
yeah,
And
and,
Does that
Yeah.
matter if Yvette's here or not?
no,
We can vote tonight if you want.
I mean, because then she could go ahead
I
and do
think
it.
we're all pretty much in agreement.
Yeah, I like the
Yeah.
colored sign.
yeah,
Okay. Before we vote, I should explain, I apologize for not doing that sooner. Our director, Yvette Kauser, is not here with us this evening because of the storm. The children's room and the lower part of and the clump room at the library have flooded. So she is over managing that situation. So do you want to vote tonight then on that?
I think so.
Fine with it. I'm sold.
okay.
All right then. Do I
Okay,
hear-
wait a second.
Oh,
We need some, excuse me, we need somebody to make a motion with a clear description of which sign we are
sorry?
That's what you were
proposing.
just about to say.
Yeah.
She was just about to
So do we have a motion? All right, I move we buy the sign.
Okay, okay.
We have to
Well, which sign?
We purchase the
10 millimeter
10 millimeter optic.
RGB. Do you want to? Oh,
It's this one.
you could
this.
just type it in.
Yeah, it's the 10
But all
millimeter
the
The
RGB.
10 millimeter RGB color
I don't know if it's on the.
LED sign.
Yeah, she's got it now.
Do you have all the
Yeah, that's the one.
information?
Yes, that one.
That information, yes, write down that information. I think that's what you need. Which comes with the cost being $25,152 installed with a 5-year warranty.
In training with the software.
Yeah, I'm waiting for her to type.
Oh, sorry.
With software
Well, 5-year warranty,
installation,
installation, cell phone for data,
warranty, cell phone, what was the term he was using? Cell phone?
For
Cell modem.
the
That's what
data
they called it.
plan.
We called it a cell modem.
Cell
Cell
modem,
modem with data plan.
okay.
I don't know if the motion needs to be that deep.
Cell
I know.
modem,
We already approved the money.
yes,
I think we approved 25,000. I think
Yes.
we're gonna have to throw in another 150.
52.
We approved the amount for the higher cost sign.
Okay.
So depending on what one we ended up going with.
And,
Well, it's not how it was
we
written.
did.
and training.
Well, part of that was because Yvette had told us that there was some wiggle room, but apparently not.
Okay, so we moved to purchase the specific sign whose cost is with software installation, warranty, warranty.
5-year warranty.
Yeah. Cell modem with the data plan and training.
Yes.
And
So who motioned that?
Laura did.
Laura.
Laura did, and who is seconding it?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay.
And Ant seconded.
That's right.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
I'll leave you with that. Oh, is this your copy?
No, it was
I'm sorry.
Janice's
Oh, she can hold on to it.
Yeah.
or Rick's.
I have it too.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so moving forward,
okay, and,
are you all set?
yeah, I just want to see where I am. Okay, so we're up to here. Okay,
Okay. Personnel Committee?
No meeting.
Oh, that's right, that's you and me. I'm looking.
It's not me.
I heard her say personnel, and mentally I'm thinking investment. Sorry.
Does the Personnel Committee have anything to report?
Not at
said
this
no.
point, no.
Oh, you said no, okay. You did the alternate.
Yeah, I sent that out, but I sent it out late. I didn't realize I hadn't sent it out, so I forwarded it out late last night.
It's very nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
included
compared to the 3 sentences that you banked together.
Yeah, because I didn't have my printout with me last meeting.
That was good.
So I included the RSA's,
Yeah.
the town bylaw, and our bylaws.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I don't know if we want to.
Bring it with me, but I did read it.
Well, I think this is a good start. I had a few edits for the guidelines itself. But we don't need to take a lot of time. I can give you those. And
Oh.
They just, I think, need a little bit of editing for clarity,
That's
the
fine.
guidelines.
All right.
And then we can bring another draft back for the next meeting.
She gonna say something?
No, I just didn't realize. I knew there was a second page. I printed it out, but I only looked at the first page. I didn't.
Yeah, the first page was just cut and paste of the bylaws and town charter, and
I didn't realize. I didn't look at the guidelines because I didn't
the second page
realize.
was what I actually wrote.
Okay.
It was pretty much almost identical to what I had brought in
Okay.
last time, just a little bit longer sentences.
Okay. So we'll bring those back next meeting with a
Okay.
few edits. Mostly it's just clarification edits I have here, and we won't take the time to go over them.
If you want to edit it and then send it back out before the next meeting,
I suppose I could. It's mostly just clarifying which trustee board you're talking about, because they get mixed.
oh,
Bit in
because
here.
the board and the
Yeah.
town council
Yeah.
board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay.
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 Well, it's on your computer, right?
Yeah, either or, doesn't matter.
Yeah, why don't you? Okay, all right. So that takes care of that. Building Maintenance Committee,
We are meeting for a quarterly meeting on August 8th at 4 p.m. with the Yvette and Jared and...
No, Yvette won't be there.
Oh, that's right. Yvette's on vacation. With Jared and Joanne.
Joanne.
And then you and I are still going to meet before that, but we don't have a date.
Just
Janet
wanna-
and I.
Considering the situation today, you might want to meet sooner.
Tell me about.
okay. And Investment Committee,
We didn't have anything.
basically,
We met.
no, we've met. We're going to be looking at coming up with a recommendations for the board on how to invest
Right.
some of our funds, and we're looking into that now. So that's all we're doing. Okay. Anything else? All right. We have from Brandon. Brendan, I don't mind why I'm calling him Brandon. We have from Brendan a proposal for the funding request for new databases. He put forth a very nice summation here. The request is for 3 databases he believes would add a lot of value to Merrimack Public Library's current slate of databases and fill gaps missing in coverage, which are not factored into the 2018-19 database budget at this time. These databases would be on a trial run, looks like for almost a year, and then a determination could be made as to how effective they are. I think one of the things we'd want to know is, are they being used? And if so, how much? But the databases are A to Z World Food, which includes international food recipes, EBSCO, EBSCO, which is a legal information center, with legal reference materials and forms for public use. Weiss Financial, which is a stock database. He doesn't say much else more about it, but it's about financial literacy, learning about stocks and bonds, I guess. The cost of the A to Z, which is the food, would be $300 a year. I'm assuming it's yearly. The EBSCO, the Legal Information Center, would be $1,495 a year, about $1,495. And the Weiss Financial, the stock one, would be $2,595 a year, coming to a total of $4,390 for these databases on a yearly basis. So does anyone have any discussion on this?
Well, what he says is this is a one-time request, and that he would plan to use the current 18-19 fiscal year as a trial run to see if these databases are popular enough with our patrons. If they are, then the subscriptions would be made part of the budget. And if they aren't, I assume they'd be dropped. So
we would ask that the statistics be kept on the use of these databases, the
Right.
frequency, et cetera.
Yeah, how do they determine frequency of use? That would be my
Well,
question.
they can tell how many
Yeah.
people use
Yeah.
it.
Right, but I mean, my question is more like, if it's used every single day by the same person, is that high frequency or not? That's,
Good, yeah, it's
So
supposed to be
that's-
for that,
right,
yeah.
that's the type of information I would be interested in. So,
okay.
Did she sent out the statistics, didn't
I
she?
don't this.
No.
It's something
Well,
else.
just for everything.
Oh.
What was included with the
didn't get
statistics?
I didn't get the
I didn't get
statistics.
Or no, she didn't send them?
She said she was going to, or she was gonna bring them.
That's right,
She's gonna
okay.
bring them, yeah. I was gonna say,
we'll
I've
have the
downloaded
statistics.
everything under the sun.
'Cause I was
So
gonna
one
say,
thing we would ask as part of use these databases is he keeps track of the statistics on how they're used, and we would have to ask as a separate question, can they differentiate same users?
right,
I don't
but
know.
I would like to know how all of the databases are used. We could, at the same
Right.
time, evaluate all our databases. If we're gonna evaluate usage of these three, why not evaluate the usage of all of them?
Yes.
So, because maybe the financial one ends up being highly used, and then there's one that we currently have that is not used, so,
Mhm.
so then we
And
can
I don't
swap
know
around.
if they keep track of that information right now or not.
I thought she said, at one point Yvette said they did, because I'd
Okay.
asked her about that.
Yeah.
I thought she did say they did.
On the statistics she's given us in the past, there is a line for databases, but I don't know how it's broken down, or if
Well,
there's
is
more
it,
they
you
can
mean
break
all the
down.
databases together or
Exactly.
each individual one? I
Exactly.
think we should keep it on each individual
Right.
one.
Is anybody else not clear what you're able to access on this Weiss Financial? Like, okay, stocks.
That one for
I
the
don't,
price.
and when you
I'm
think about
kind of-
finances, that I wouldn't know
I'm kind of.
what I would get from using it.
Well, I thought that what he made it clear on the Weiss one was that, it was the most user-friendly. And
What-
that meaning the least confusing and the most clear as far as a person who might not be, financially savvy. I mean,
That's me, and I don't understand what I would see if I was looking at one of these databases. I don't, what am I looking at? Am I looking at a list of
well,
stock?
I don't know. You'd
I
have to
don't-
log
yeah,
on
That's
and
what
and
I'm
see.
wondering is how would patrons use that? What are they looking at? Are they just looking at what stocks are available? Are they looking at stock prices? Are they
You might
looking
be able
through-
to given that it's researching stocks, you might be able to say, okay, I want a stock that's in biotech. So
Okay.
you would say, type in biotech, and then maybe there are other filters that say, okay, I want one that's only U.S. So then you can say only U.S. and break it down.
So it sounds
I'm
like
just
you
not
can-
familiar with that, so I needed that like reframe, so I understood what you might find
That's
out from that.
how I look at it, but I don't know. I've never used that.
Well, I found it interesting that he included for this particular database, that Medigap information, people who are retiring and have that gap in the middle between their Medicare insurance and
Supplemental insurance.
and supplement, I think that's what Medigap is, essentially, is supplemental insurance. And it's just interesting that it's in a financial database like that.
Well, it's an add-on. It's an add-on. It says an add-on to the stock database, such as financial literacy, mutual funds, and the Medigap information.
Huh. Okay, that's right.
It could be like a
Add-ons.
stepping stone. When
Right.
We know that it offers this for sure, and then
Yeah.
we could add pieces to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, any other thoughts about this? Do we want to go ahead and accept?
The food one, I think, is a no-brainer. That's cheap, it's 300. The other
Well,
two,
They're all trial.
I know, the other two, though, are kind of steep in price. I'd want a little bit more information personally.
Well,
They're
shall we
just
just
trial
table
right
this?
now. They're just a trial.
Right.
I know, but this
This
is the
amount
amount.
of money for
this
a
is
I
the
full
know,
amount
but
for the
trial.
we don't have to purchase it after the trial.
Right.
But
Just
we have
one.
to come up with this amount just to get the trial.
That wasn't my understanding.
No, it's a one year, my understanding.
This is a
one-year
one-time
trial for
request
these.
For
for this
that
much
amount.
money.
This amount.
Yeah, that's what he's looking for, is that amount for the one-year
Oh,
trial.
I misread this.
Yeah.
I thought he meant we could trial it for a period of time and then pay for
No.
it.
Oh, no.
No.
This is, we
Oh,
paid
I
$4,400
misread
for
it.
That's what
these
I'm saying,
three.
the food one is a no-brainer, that's cheap.
Right.
The other two, I think I want more information before I'm comfortable.
I don't know, I think we should table it, and when Yvette is
We asked
here,
him to come.
if she
That's what I was
decide,
wondering.
what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was just gonna say, if she was here, or we could ask Brendan to come.
We could have an off-schedule meeting to go
Yeah.
over this if we need to.
So you want to table this for now and bring it up next meeting? Do you want Brendan at the next meeting to describe these
As
further?
I said, I'm comfortable with the food one if we want to just vote on
Yes.
that one.
Want to
But
vote on
it's
the
up to you
food one?
guys.
That's all right.
Table all of them.
I just,
I
Do
would
it
just
all at
assume
once.
And have Brendan here, if
Yeah.
if
And
he's
have
willing
Brendan
to
here.
come.
Okay, so why don't we table all of them until
Since
Brendan
he's
comes?
used these
Okay.
before.
It was very
So then
nicely
you'd
put
get a-
together.
It's,
Yes,
I like
it
the
is.
proposal too. Then some of your questions, Janice, that you'd have about
Yeah,
they could be answered. Same with the legal information, like what are you actually
that's
getting?
exciting. The legal I understand more than I understand the stock one. That's okay, it's just me. It's not
Okay.
Everybody.
okay. Yeah,
I think the next thing I had on the list was some new business. However, Yvette should be here to participate in this, so I think I'm going to table that till our next meeting.
which,
Okay.
what are you gonna table?
I was going to bring up some new business.
Ah.
But because Yvette's not here, I'm going to wait until the next meeting,
Okay,
because I think she needs to be here for that discussion,
okay.
okay?
Yeah, well, I didn't see it, so I don't have to put it down.
It's because it's not on there.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay, treasurer's report.
Okay, I'm gonna start at the balance sheets just to get them out of the way.
Is that what you printed out? here?
That's this one.
The stapled one.
Well, there's two that are stapled, but it's the stapled 8.5 by 11.
Gotcha.
So, for fines, we started with a balance for June of $17,424.54, and we ended with $18,254.29. Within that is essentially just shows you all the checks and deposits that came for that month. Okay. And then under special, we
Missing one.
I gave it to you.
Oh, it's stuck to this one, I'm
No.
sorry.
That's not it.
It's the
That one.
small
Yep,
one.
it's
Yeah,
the
the
small
small
one.
one.
That one.
This one, yeah, okay.
And then special is started at $10,176.34, and we ended with $10,550.60. There it is. Oh, I take that back. I had to go on to the next page. We ended with $14,954.28. I did have to go to the next page. You can see that the trustees of the trust fund money that we got was deposited of the $5,331.13. The band was $750 that we split with Parks and Rec.
They were amazing, by the way.
Really,
They were fun.
Absolutely amazing.
They were
In
fun.
that heat. Oh my gosh.
I don't even.
In their full suits, too. They had the
yeah.
Blues Brothers suits on and everything.
Imagine.
Oh. Their poor cop car kept overheating in the parade.
Oh,
I thought we were gonna have to. I thought we were gonna have to push it because it stalled a couple
She was
times.
a trooper.
Yeah.
What kept stalling?
They have how the Blues Brothers
The
drive
Blues
a police
Brothers
car.
retired
Oh,
police
yes.
car.
They had the cop car and they drove it in
Oh.
the parade for the library and it
Yeah.
kept overheating. 'Cause
Oh.
an older cop car, so it kept overheating.
so, and then, is everybody done?
Yeah.
So we're good at the
Yeah.
balance sheets?
Thank you.
The fines, profit and loss by month. That's the one sheet, all on the 8.5 by 14.
Which one? This one.
The single.
Bank refund, $14.11.
That was, it's actually kind of funny. That was TD Bank. You know the Penny Arcade? There was actually a settlement, a lawsuit, class action lawsuit, and we ended up getting the $14.11 from them. So, yeah, that was bank refund.
We want more of those, don't we?
Yeah, for $14. So, I want to highlight just a couple things. The copier, you can see that the copier income was $3,345.76, but the copier expense was $1,414.42.
Why is that?
We made money because it.
No, I didn't mean for the income. Why did we spend?
14,42.
Yeah, what was that? Was that for
Oh.
repairs?
No, if you look across the row,
Yeah.
the 8981 is like it's like the meter
Yep.
on the copier. So that's a monthly charge that we pay,
Oh, I
and then
see.
dispersed throughout the months ever so often is paper.
Okay. So we made a profit.
So we have a profit. So just throwing that out there. Yeah.
I have one question, and I don't know if you know the answer. It might be a question we need to ask Yvette. Do you know if we're set up, you know how on Amazon when you purchase something, you can pick a charity to have it go to?
Yes,
Right.
Yes.
Are we set up for that?
yes.
We are?
I've heard,
I think we did that a
she's
couple years
mentioned it
ago.
a couple of times.
Okay, yeah, because the reason I
It's like
ask is
Smile.
with
It
Amazon.
is smart.
Yeah, it is.
That's what it was. You're right. We are signing because one of my friends is the director at another library, and with Amazon Prime Day, she was blasting out everybody she knows, saying
Yeah.
if you
Right.
happen to shop today, and
That's today.
yeah, and you're buying stuff on Amazon, pick us as your charity, and
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
promoting your
okay.
library to try to get some extra funds.
Okay.
Exactly.
I couldn't remember if we had done it or not.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I feel
Karen.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
But
feel
I've
like
never
read that
seen
somewhere.
anything from it, though it's not promoted much.
No,
Sometimes
but
it's-
but
yeah.
you can
There's
just,
also a
if
lot
you
of
go on your,
competition.
on the Amazon page, and then you just look for Smile.
Right.
And then, once you get into Smile, then you can
You just look for it.
either look for it or, just say, find this, and they'll find it for you.
There you go. That's it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Sorry.
Museum membership passes, so that's what we pay.
Yeah, I have a question. I have a question for Yvette about that. If for nothing else, we paid for like 16 passes throughout the year, and only 13 are on our website.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious why they're not there. So,
Maybe our list has to be up, just.
yeah,
updated.
exactly. Well, I don't know if it's the list, but when you can't even click on it, so
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Okay.
Actually, that reminds me, I was going to compare with Yvette. I signed up for a library card where I'm working in Mass,
Oh, yeah.
and I got a list of all the museums and everything they offer. And one of the ones that was kind of cool, they offer tickets to the Lowell Spinners.
Well, Nashua offers tickets to the Silver Knights at
Yep.
Yeah.
At Holman Stadium, yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Probably because it's in their
It is.
community,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
The-
exactly.
yeah.
But we're halfway between both the Fisher
Right,
Camps and
right.
the Knights.
Right.
It would
We
be
could do
nice to
both.
know, yeah.
So,
Okay,
all
any
right.
further discussion about that?
No, not tonight. I have another question for Yvette. And then special. Does anyone have questions about special? At some point, I assume friends are going to be taking over book sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're taking over in September.
Yeah, yeah. They're. Well, I missed their annual meeting, but at their meeting before that, they basically were. They want to, and that was actually one of the things they wanted to do was have a talk with Laura about a transition. So at some point, you and Clara need to just talk about the transition for that.
I'll contact Claire.
Oh, so the transition for them
For them to
taking
take it
over the
over,
book
yeah.
sale.
So I don't think there's really anything to highlight. There's the trustee town funds came in terms of sources. I was just curious just because book sale ended up being close to $10,000, which would go to the friends, not to trustees, which, again, is totally fine. They give it back to us anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, whenever
So-
we
Yeah.
ask for it, we've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
money from them.
And then that's pretty much it. I mean, everything's pretty much self-explanatory.
I have to say that I am thrilled by the size of this print.
Well, you know what? I had to save it in Excel, format it in Excel, and then I went to my mother's office and printed it so it would be big. So I know, because
It's a relief to the eye.
I know. But
I do notice that you have on the second page in the
Yep.
middle of professional services.
yep,
What is that for?
professional services is like a lawyer or.
Yeah, but what do we use it for?
Oh, what did we use? I don't remember what the 242 is. I can look it up. But the 1,000 are the signs, are the banners.
Oh, the banners.
But I don't
Oh, and
remember.
somebody professional.
242 was at the.
Oh, that was the advertising.
Oh, for the
Oh,
magazine.
for
magazine.
the
that's right.
magazine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
New Hampshire Magazine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Merrimack magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the Merrimack magazine. That's what the
Oh, okay.
242 was.
So-
That's it.
All
So-
right.
Yeah, she was gonna bring that today, too.
So
What?
I don't know how mine was in the
magazine.
drawer. That's how I ended up
Oh.
with one. Because I always have to get
Oh, yeah, right, she gets your,
Because we won't even talk about that.
yeah,
We need a database to teach me. I need to use one of those teaching ones at the library to teach me how to do that.
And the trustee budget is now in effect as of July 1.
yes.
So those goals have been met.
Yes, I also moved the money around at the beginning of July to make sure that the bank accounts
all of
were
them,
at, the two bank were at 10K.
10,000. And
Yep.
that way, you'll know at the end of the year.
Exactly, rack and stack. Let me see what else I had to say. I think that's it.
Well, you were going to talk about non-resident fees?
I was. So, if you look under the RSA for non-resident fees, there is, actually, no, if you look under the RSA in terms of fines, they describe it with three different things. It's fines, income generating equipment, and then there's contracts with other libraries that go under this RSA to have a non-lapsing fund that restricts your money. So you know how fines is restricted? Like you can only buy materials, repairs to the building. That's pretty much it. And supplies, certain supplies. Within the RSA, it says that those specific things for fines, income generating equipment, and this contracts for with other libraries. Under those three conditions, you have to spend this money this particular way. Non-resident cards, the fee that we do, doesn't apply to that. And I bring that up because it's not a lot of money, but I'd rather have it in special where it's not restricted. It's like, any source of money that can be spent any way, I'd rather have in special, where fines has to be spent a certain way and income generating equipment has to be spent a certain way. So, and
It's not considered a fine?
it's not. So, and
It is considered a fine.
non-resident fees are not considered a fine. It's a
They're
fine
not-
is
it's not
defined.
that
She
way
said
in
it's
RSA.
income that's been generated. That was her
No,
response.
her thing was that it's a fee. So that was her response. But I can see putting it in either pot. if we can have it in special, I'd rather have it in special so it's not restricted. Because I can see the rationale for both parts, for both sections. But if I don't have to have it in fines, I wouldn't want to put it in fines. I'd rather have it in special. This year it was $350, so it's not a lot, but I'd rather spend it in special than have to keep it in fines. As another note, I did send a note to the NHLTA treasurer, and he also said he would recommend putting it into non-resident fees and passport fees, because that will come up too. Both go in special.
Who did you send to?
The NHLTA treasurer,
Okay.
Mark Branoff. So I throw that out there. I understand the rationale for both pots of money, but if it can be in special, I would rather see it in special because it's not restricted. And again, even if you just look at sources of income for fines, it's the copier, it's e-commerce, which is online fines, income generating equipment, replacement income, which is lost or damaged books that people have to pay to replace. So essentially, that's a fine. And then non-resident cards, and that just doesn't fit the grouping in terms of the RSA, that's how I see it.
Well, and so does the
So does the
Hampshire Library
NHLTA.
Trustees Association.
Right,
Treasurer sees it the same way.
Correct. So I would like to move it to special.
Any discussion about that? Any objections to that?
Is that something Yvette would have to take care of, yeah, or no?
Would she?
No, because
No.
it's just when it comes in.
It's a formality on how you record it
Exactly.
and which bank account it goes into.
That's the biggest thing.
And what?
The bank
Which
account.
bank account it goes into. So it's really just where you're sending it.
Where you deposit it.
And it's more flexible in
Absolutely.
one space
Yeah.
You
than
can
the
spend
other.
it
That's the
any way you
point.
want.
So
which
the
is
passport fees and non-resident fees would both go into
special.
special instead of fines.
Right.
We speak of passport fees because the library is
Yeah.
looking into becoming a
Yeah.
passport agency, where you can come to the library to obtain or renew a passport. The application is in as we speak.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
So,
I think that's a good idea.
okay. Something we should vote on, I think.
What, putting the
Changing
fees?
the non-resident fees. We don't have the passport fees yet, but if we
Right.
do, we probably should wait until we get them before we vote on them.
I'm sure there'll be a policy for that.
Yeah, we'd have to have a
Yeah.
policy.
Just for clarity's sake, non-resident fee is where right now?
Fines.
fines, and fines is restricted to how
Fines
you.
is restricted, I have it actually right here. Money received from fines and payments for lost or damaged books, actually, let me make it bigger so I can see it. Or for the support of a library, that's that third thing. So it's fines, damaged books, support of a library in another city. Shall be used for general repairs and upgrading, and for the purchase of books, supplies, and income-generating equipment shall be held in a non-lapsing separate fund and shall be in addition to the appropriations. So it's fines
Now, specials, what's that definition?
for special.
Yeah.
You can spend on anything.
Right,
This is the RSA.
yeah. Special is pretty much open.
Special is
Just as
gravy money.
anything.
Spend it on.
But what are anything that's not a fine goes into specials? Is
Correct.
that the idea?
Yes,
So they don't specify, it's
No.
just anything that's not a fine.
Right.
exactly.
Is there anything in
So
our
it gives you more flexibility in
trustee
how to use it.
bylaws, though, about, or in the policy for the non-residential fee, saying where the money goes?
I don't know.
Say that again?
I
We
d-
approved that.
we
pretty
Is
approved
there
recently.
anything in the bylaws for the trustee bylaws or the policy for the non-residential mentioning where the money goes?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I
'cause
don't think
it's-
so.
We don't tend to, in policy, we don't say where the money goes.
I might have that with me.
Look,
I might have it with me, I don't know.
Okay, I don't have the policy here.
oh, are you online or not?
Yeah, I am
I
on
mean,
mine.
in our bylaws.
Yeah, the trustee bylaws, so it would be on the Merrimack website.
I'll look there too.
Not all
Yeah,
there.
they are.
One minute.
We don't really have anything in
Yeah,
here
the
about
other
our
day.
I
money.
couldn't find things I
They're all
was
over
What
looking
the
couldn't you
bottom.
find?
Thank you, because I'm like, where do I look?
I-
Somewhere in there, these policies.
The
I had a
bylaws?
mas-
Missions
no, I had a
policies.
master list of policies that I thought would all be on the
Here-
website, and they weren't. So
Here
I
is a
didn't know if
copy of
it's
our
because they're in
bylaws.
flux or something.
What are those, are those the bylaws?
Trustee bylaws?
The bylaws.
Yeah, the bottom one. So that-
Yeah, but I was looking for the meeting, for non-policy,
Oh, the policy for it?
for
Yeah,
the
I don't know where that would
non-resident
be.
card. It's not there.
The policy for
A non-resident card?
non-resident? I think we did that last fall
It's
or
not on
winter.
mine, is what she's saying.
Resident. No,
So
it's
it's
not,
not-
it's not in our bylaws.
None.
I know it's
This
not
is
in the
a list of-
bylaws.
No, it's not. If anybody wants to look at it, there's nothing
Policies.
that talks about that.
Are those the
Where
bylaws?
would you
Yes.
find her?
No, I mean, I think these are the old ones.
Is that the
It's all
old
in
one?
there. What is?
These are the old ones because
Probably under card
unless,
holder,
They're not, they should be dated
Responsibility.
on the front page, not the last
it would be
page.
one of the card holder
mine
policies.
were dated on every page, the new ones, and this isn't.
Yeah.
dated on the whole.
Library card eligibility, that's what it's under.
Library card eligibility policy.
The
That was
director
last
may recommend
Updated
board check.
4/16, according to this list, but this list could be old. I don't know how old this list is.
It says who can get it and what the fee is, but it doesn't say where it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the old ones.
That's my only
Oh,
question.
how do I get
Oh,
some
that's
new
fine.
ones?
The new ones are dated in May. I sent them to you. Here, would you like?
Oh.
I'll give you my copy, and I can always print another one.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Nope.
I just have to get my,
So,
So the policy
not there,
doesn't
we
say
don't
one
have
way or
to-
the other.
no, the
We're all good.
policy doesn't, I don't think either.
So are you gonna make the motion?
Yes. I would like to make a motion to move income from non-resident cards to special.
Non-resident card fees to special.
Right.
Moved to,
Going forward?
Going forward, yeah, like
Yeah.
this fiscal year.
So any new residential
Right,
fees? So
starting
the
from
money
this-
that's already in, we're not gonna
Right,
worry
no,
about?
no,
From this
no, I'm not
point
moving
on.
that.
all right,
From this point on.
I'll second.
stop, first,
Okay.
give me the motion.
I motion that we move non-resident card fees, or the income from non-resident card fees, to special.
The special account.
Yes, please.
And what did you add to that?
I seconded.
No, before that, you
Oh, I
said
just clarified, I asked, just, we're not gonna touch the money that's,
from
money
now,
past year.
Yeah,
from
Going forward.
Going forward.
going forward.
And you could just say I clarified going forward only.
Okay.
Tonight? I know we haven't got there.
Is there anything else?
We're gonna
We
vote.
gotta vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, all in favor? Aye.
I need a little sign that says
He
vote.
doesn't vote.
Actually, I found this little sheet on one of either the NHLTA, one of the websites, and it's like a cheat sheet for all those phrases.
I know, that's what I
And
need
thought,
right
I
here in
need to
front of
print
me.
one out.
You just, blow up one
It
of
was
those
like
stickers
this
that say,
small.
"I
It was like
voted."
one page, and it was all the little things you
That's it.
say.
I'm done.
You know those stickers that say I voted? We'll get one,
Yeah, I
blow it up and just hold it up.
Just hold up our I voted sign, we did it. Okay, moving on.
Oh, actually, I do have one thing.
I'm sorry, okay.
Our guidelines are now in effect,
Yes, our
So-
guidelines for management of the
so
guidelines for management of library funds are now in effect, and they are different.
you should have made like an acronym for that and been something
G-
cute.
GLM,
Okay, going forward, certain purchases would have to come before the board before they can be purchased.
Okay.
Just as an example, the band. The band would have had to have come to us to be approved. So I just bring that up as a,
I thought we did approve it anyway.
we talked about it, but we didn't approve it.
the guideline says that any purchase over $500 would have to be approved by the board prior to purchase. So that is a different approach than what we have been doing.
Right.
Okay.
And it's just, again, I mean, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thank you for reminding us about that. The next item on the agenda is the general ledger.
Did she send that out?
She did.
Yes, with a very fuzzy copy, I must admit.
Actually,
Probably in the stack,
Is this
yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
general ledger.
Very fuzzy,
Okay.
It was
I think
rather
that's it.
fuzzy, fuzzy.
Oh,
Basically, this is till the end of our year,
yeah.
Yeah.
so we overspent
By $230.
$230.45,
Actually,
I think. And, but because one can move things around a little bit, it all got handled. Just so you know, the town, we send all monies from the town budget are paid for by the town. The library sends over the invoice to the town signs it and keeps track of the category the money came out of and the vendor. And the director keeps a little bit more detailed report to keep track of where that money did go and how much has been spent per category throughout the year, throughout the fiscal year. So, I don't have too much to say
I think
about
the
that.
200 that you're seeing is a rounding error, because if you look at the year-to-date, we've spent 1,102,000 and change, and the budget was 1,221,000, and then the rest was what was encumbered. So I think it's like a rounding error with the encumbered. Is what you're seeing with the 200.
Oh, well, there could be.
But
Okay, there's nothing we're gonna do about that right now.
yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions about the general ledger? No? Okay. Then we can move on to year-end expenditures, replacement of the reader board, which we already had our meeting with David Matzis to go over the sign, and we've already approved it. So we are good there. The next item on the agenda is the director's report, which we do have before us. However, the director is not here to go over that with us.
There's a couple things she asked us to vote on, though, right?
Yeah, we need to vote on the acceptance of the
Right.
gifts.
And the personnel
Or-
information, right?
Mhm. So does everybody have their director's report out?
Got too many
Everybody
printouts.
fish out their papers.
I'm gonna look at mine if you want to.
Yeah, let me just look at it with you, 'cause it's in here somewhere. Oh, I got the last page of it.
Okay, just
Too many
share.
printouts. I'll just share.
You want to share mine, Karen?
I got it.
Okay.
Maybe not in an organized fashion, but I've got it. I got it.
Okay. So we need to vote to accept the following businesses have donated passes or certificates for Summer Reading Challenge youth and teen prizes. We thank them all very much for supporting our youth. It is the Launch Trampoline Park, Buckley's Bakery and Cafe, Jade Dragon, King Cone, Merrimack Karate, Kenobi Lake Park,
Canopy.
huh? Canopy?
Canopy.
It's Canopy, yeah.
Haven't you ever heard of Kenobi Wan Kenobi?
Yes, and it has nothing to do with Canopy Lake Park.
And Cowabungas. And Mallard Point Homeowners Association donated $50 to the library in appreciation for using our meeting room.
Oh, so that's a separate
Yeah.
donation.
That is a
Good.
separate donation, yes.
So I'll make the motion to accept all the donated certificates for the Summer Reading Challenge.
I
and youth
second.
teen Prizes.
Okay. And I motion that we accept the
Wait.
Mallard.
No,
Oh,
no,
second,
no.
I'm sorry. All in favor? I motion that we move to accept the donation from the Mallard Point homeowners.
I'll
And
sec-
all
no,
right.
You can second, you.
All in favor? Okay. We have already voted on the
Yeah, we voted on,
hiring on Ben Stenson and Nathaniel Dwyer.
yep,
We were just awaiting their background checks, if they came back positive.
Right.
Positive. I'm not sure what that means, a background check.
If they, oh. You don't know what that is? Are you being?
No, I know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what it is. Anyways, there was no problem, and so they have been hired. We had decided a few months ago, as a board with the director, that we would do a background check prior to finalizing a hiring. In the event it came back unfavorably, we didn't want to have hired them and then have to change that. So we started that, I think since about last December, we started doing
Roughly,
it that
yeah.
way.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly, yeah. We also have a staff recognition anniversary. Lee Gilmore has been with us for 25 years this August. And looking like they want to do a plaque or donation or reception by the
There's a plaque in
board.
the library that has all the people for their anniversaries, so we probably need to approve money to update plaque.
Okay, that's what she means by the
With a little
plaque
Yeah.
then.
nameplate.
Yeah, there's,
Okay.
you know, the plaque I'm
Yeah.
talking about, it's in the
Yeah.
hallway
It-
downstairs,
yeah,
it shows
it's a
people.
little
that-
nameplate.
That's
and a
right.
gift, and there's a gift certificate that I think is part of the policy
Yeah, and I don't remember the
for
amount.
staff awards or something.
Yeah,
I
I
did
looked
it
that up, and
25.
There's,
Yeah, we did right
there isn't
there.
the one, the copy I had had no specific amount, but that doesn't mean there isn't one.
There is, I remember
I'm sure there
typing it.
is.
There is
For staff,
recognition.
Yeah.
I thought it was 25, but I'm not sure.
I thought so too, but I need to check. I can check.
please check.
Do you wanna just approve up to X amount?
Well, why don't we find out how much it is?
Let's find out what it is and
Maybe
we'll,
it's like 50.
I don't
So-
think so.
When do you, oh, so it's
We could do
August,
one of
so we
those
have time
approval up
to.
to $200,
It's-
which would cover the plaque, getting.
I was gonna say, how much does it cost? We'd just be getting a nameplate, right?
Yeah, they get the nameplate for the plaque, and then there's a gift certificate.
Right, and then if we want to do a reception,
Do you know what that policies under? Do you know what that?
I'm,
says?
I'm,
thinking about that, if you
I'm
could
gonna
look it
look
up.
now.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Okay.
I
Staff
hope.
policy manual, is that what you're looking for? Or in a
No,
different place?
actually, not the staff
Okay.
policy manual.
So the other while she's looking that information up, she has question mark here, do we want to do a reception? I think that's what this is saying, reception with LBOT.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
In other words, like a breakfast.
Do we
or-
want to
Right.
sponsor that, is what she's
Lunch or-
asking?
oh, I
Is
took
it?
it more as she was gonna have a party, and does she want the trustees to attend?
Reception with LBOT, okay.
That's how I took it. That doesn't mean it's right.
Well, if I could do that, I would be willing to do it. I mean, that's 25 years is a long time to commit
It's a
to
long
one place.
time,
and
sure, sure.
It's raining.
He's been a staple in the library.
It would be nice to
Absolutely.
make it an in-person congratulations.
So,
We just have to get some
What I'm looking
dates or
for
times or
is the,
feedback from.
ooh, listen to that
It's
rain.
raining.
Again.
darn it. Well, I did bring my umbrella, but.
Mm.
Is
So.
this something that's online, or you don't think so?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I think that's part of the staff manual.
Who was the last person? Wasn't there someone in the last 6 months who had hit an anniversary?
Oh, that
No.
was the retirement.
No, I thought it was well,
Well,
yeah.
no, Suzanne and,
Somebody else hit
yeah,
an
He hit
Suzanne
like
anniversary.
and
10
Jen
years or
Stover
something,
hit
or
20.
5.
Yeah, somebody hit 20.
Yeah, Jen Stover and Suzanne hit 20.
All right, well, I
can look up
So
how much it
usually what
was.
we're asked to do is approve an amount to be spent up to. And I'm trying to recall, what did we vote on for the last one?
I'll look it up.
Okay, we've got it, she's gonna look it up, find out what that is.
All right.
I know we have the policy.
Okay.
Or could it be in the staff policy manual?
See, I looked in there
I
and I
think it's in
couldn't
the
find one
staff.
that was related to anniversaries. I found one that was related to like incentives
Like
or
a
somebody
spot
had
or
done, yeah,
a
like a
nice-
spotlight,
a
but
spot
I didn't find
award.
the one.
Yes,
But I have an old copy, so it may not be up to
yeah,
date.
we do have one.
I didn't know if we have a set amount, because
I haven't seen the chalkboard.
It's
Yeah,
really
that's
nice.
coming
When did they go up?
I
Um,
wanna say within the last month. It's behind it.
Oh, I just walked right by it
Wow.
and didn't even notice.
You kind of look into the.
I had
but
it,
it's nice,
and now I
very
can't
nice.
find it. What, you know that list of months when policies are to be renewed,
Yeah,
that you devised, that we had at the retreat?
oh, that?
this one.
Yes, that.
that way,
It's not on there?
Yvette did
I
that
wasn't
one.
looking for it.
Because I had that.
I think most of those are the ones we've done.
These are the ones
It's
that
not
need to
on
be
there.
reviewed this year.
Nope.
I don't think it's on there.
Gifts and memorials policy.
Listen
But
to
that's
that
something else. When we
rain.
get gifts, what's that one is, right?
Right.
Get the buckets.
Well, we can find out, right?
Well,
Yep.
rather than deliberate here too long, it's getting close to 9 o'clock.
You could take a look at it for a second.
I think what she's wanting to ask for is some money for this,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know how much. So why don't we table this for now? And,
Would we have to get together and vote before it happens?
well, she
Yeah.
has some latitude to spend some money without us, so why don't we table this since we don't know what it is being asked of
We
us?
could have a quick
It's
emergency
50.
meeting with just 3 of us.
It was 50. It was 50.
50.
And,
Okay.
for the 20 anniversary gift card for Suzanne and Jen Stover.
What?
It was 50.
It was
50
50
year.
for 2 cards?
No, for one card.
Okay, so we could vote to allow a $50 gift card for her. Is that what I'm hearing?
And whatever the price is
For
to
the
And whatever the
plaque.
price of the
plaque.
plaque
I'll make the
is.
motion to approve up to 100. So
For,
it covers whatever the plaque is gonna cost, and then
for the cost of the
gift card.
plaque and the gift card.
Up to 100?
$50
up to
gift,
$100.
but the gift card's $50
Gift card would be the
because
50,
that's what our
and-
policy is.
Is it always 50 for just 20 years, or any anniversary is 50?
Well, this is 25 years.
It's not in the policy. I just know how much we spent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
Oh.
think there is a policy, because
Okay.
I've looked for that in the
Right, so
past.
up to 100 and we'll
I'll put the
figure it
motion
out.
out there to approve up to 100
Okay, for
for,
a $50 gift card
And
and
the
for the cover of the cost of the plaque.
Right, the nameplate plaque. I second.
All in favor? Okay. Phew.
But we would also want to convey to Yvette that if we could participate,
Oh, she'll let
Like
us
to.
know, yes.
Well,
Yeah,
yes, I agree
we'd
with
have
you.
to
Let her,
let her
yes.
know.
Plague.
yeah. And grants, it doesn't appear there's been any grants.
No,
Building, see attached maintenance project list, why don't we just put that aside until we go through the rest of this? Circulation, they're continuing to weed through paperback books with hardback fiction. Frees up more space. They want to be able to display some of the cake pan collection and reshelve the adult graphic novel and comic collection, Calvin and Hyde's collection. I don't know what that is.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Calvin and Hyde's, Hobbes.
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 Hobbes. That's a comic strip, isn't it?
It's cartoon.
Yeah, it's cartoon,
that's
okay.
just one of the books in the,
No. Where is it?
Which part, the paperbacks or the comic books?
where is
When
it
the,
now,
if
or
you're
where
looking at
was
the
it?
circulation desk and you go around the corner, it's like
It
where
used-
biography.
There were little
It used to be
miniature,
there,
little,
but is
Oh, no,
that
it
where
moved?
just
still is?
Oh, I
paperbacks.
thought it was still
And
there.
they're gonna just spread them all out amongst the
That's what I was
hardcovers.
wondering. I'm like, where are they? That's what I was asking.
And it looks like they want to update the cafeteria area with a chalkboard.
They did
Already.
that already.
I haven't been in there, so I haven't seen
It
the
looks
chalkboard.
really nice.
It does, it's really
There,
nice.
What's the
you're saying
chalkboard
It's been there
for?
for a month now.
It's a
I've
chalkboard and
been
it's
over, I
got
don't
like
remember seeing
this
it.
flowery
It's right be-
design
yeah,
on
it's
it and
really
they write a message
really-
on it. It's very nice.
It's right
Oh,
behind the,
I probably looked right at it,
Kind of
didn't even
livens
notice
up
it.
that
Yeah.
little area.
Oh, good.
I noticed
Very
it,
nice.
and
Okay.
I don't remember if it was Jen or Michelle that did it.
And I've seen similar signs in other
Yeah, me too.
facilities using that.
Oh,
It looks
nice.
very nice.
Yep.
Okay. Then she goes over some of the education programs the staff have been to. I'm just going to sort of abbreviate going through here. So far for summer reading, since June 20th, 119 patrons signed up. 19 more than signed up last year, which is good. Upcoming July and early August programs, July 21st is the edible book contest. July 24th, the Ancestry.com class. July 26th, Creatures of the Night animal presentation with Squam Lakes Natural Science Center. And August 2nd, Libraries Rockin' with Odds Bakken concert. Youth,
Book contest looks really cool.
yeah.
I agree.
The youth services, the summer reading challenge continues as of 7/13. 18, youth have read 2,159 hours toward the 8,000 hours goal, which is quite a bit. Teen squads have started. When we had the opening concert, which was, I think, the third Wednesday in June, I think, Emily, our children's librarian department head, was interviewed by NHPR at the opening of the concert and was aired on All Things Considered.
Nice.
And she will be presenting with Liz Gatako at the New England Library Association Conference in October on teen volunteers.
And Liz works in Massachusetts, Rhode
Rhode
Island.
Island,
Island.
yeah.
So it's great that the two of them are working
Yeah.
together. I think that's good.
I think the rest of it's more housekeeping.
Oh, okay.
Before
Oh, that's,
Emily.
I thought.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, she was someone
Sorry.
before Emily.
We have, again, we're repeating, libraries applied to become a passport acceptance facility. We're just waiting for application approval for that to be set up. They are still working to schedule the National Alliance on Mental Illness 8-hour intensive training program, which had to be rescheduled previously, I believe. The date will be announced, and the date that that occurs, the library will have to be closed for that. Building maintenance, Jared continues to redo the mulch outside. We had a new toilet installed on July 11th in the women's restroom because the toilet was cracked. We're looking to do some repairs on the AC unit in tech. We had a failed smoke detector in the Lowell room on July 13th, which brought the fire department over. The library staff evacuated the library smoothly. Very good. And so that has been replaced, and that is fine. The next GMILK meeting is July 19th, Hillstown, September 7th, and Urban's September 28th. The department heads will be meeting with Tim Tenhave of the Conservation Commission on June 26th to discuss assisting with their classification project, which is land deeds as part of updating the town code. That's right up the alley of librarians, so they will be assisting with that town project. The director goals from March 18th. We're still looking to do the active trainer shooting program, training on active shooter, which had to be rescheduled because of the officer's schedule, but that they're still looking to reschedule that. And she's continuing to work with department heads to plan more innovative and dynamic programming, which is part of the strategic plan, updating the collection development policy, which is in process, overall collection weeding. They are continuing to weed the fiction and the nonfiction, particularly the fiction collections. We are in the process, we've hired a consultant to evaluate the space usage in the library, which will help us plan for the future. That consultation survey is supposed to be completed by September or the middle of September. And we're continuing to track our statistics. Some of the new plans are to work with the department heads to create a marketing plan and perform a website audit and implement any updates and changes, and then hopefully be designated as a passport location. So that's probably not as well delivered as the library director would do, but basically that's what she had written on here. The next thing to look at is we have our quarterly statistics. No, we don't. I apologize. I have my old copy so I could compare. We normally get quarterly statistics which tell us the statistical usage of circulation, which includes books, audiobooks, DVDs, compact discs, etc. We also keep track of how many books are loaned and borrowed, and how many people attend our different programs, how many people come to the library, computer usage, how many people use the reference desk for questions, and the children's room, etc. And we probably will want to be looking at expanding the types of statistics we collect as we move forward.
So she was going to, the director was going to present that,
Yeah.
so we should table it.
It has, yeah, this was the old one I was just sort of reading
So,
off, so we should be getting
table.
that next month.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And the building and maintenance projects list, there were just like two or three things that were completed and not,
No,
not
four.
much that was
1,
new.
2, 3, 4, 5 things.
Um,
The big one was the prep area for the book drop, right?
I'm sorry, what?
The big completion was prepping the area for the book drop.
Yes, they got the concrete pad in, which was
Yeah, and it
wonderful.
got cleaned up over there too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's coming along. We'll get that book drop there eventually.
Well, it's not supposed to even be delivered till August 2nd.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's to the Department of Public Works, so it'll be good. We'll get there.
I've got some
Can you make
papers
a
stuck
small
together.
request of Yvette on the maintenance list, on the stuff that's completed? Just put like an estimated, or like a rough date of when it was completed? See what it
You mean to add to this list?
Yeah, so we have the completed down at the bottom, if she could just add a date of when it was completed.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Next,
Well,
there's a
it's only-
column for
it's-
date if scheduled, but there isn't specifically.
Right.
Although it does say last updated
I was
7/13.
gonna say,
Do you
it's
assume
monthly.
that
This is since
those
the
were the ones
last
that
one.
were done
Within
that
the
month?
month, yeah, but
No, we
No,
can
it's
still
fine.
have a
I'm
more
being nitpicky.
specific.
I think it would be nice to also have a date, a column for the date it's added to the list. So when did it first show up?
so we know how
Yeah,
long things have been tabled.
yes.
Okay.
The other thing is, I notice on this maintenance list, which is fuzzy. This print is so small, God couldn't read it.
This is one that I'm
Okay, oh my goodness, that is so perfect. It's like huge. It's just, it's only small so that she can fit it on the paper is all. I do notice on this list here that the leaks aren't on there. We have,
What?
from the leaks, the roof leaks.
Isn't that a different list?
At
Yeah,
least I didn't.
that's a different list.
That's a different list.
That's a long-term list.
That's the long-term
This
list.
is like ongoing.
This is like maintenance lists around that are shorter jobs and like
So
more like
where's our
this is,
bigger list?
we didn't get a new one. We
Oh,
didn't get-
that's my problem. I'm fishing around looking for a different list
We
then.
didn't get a new long-term list.
Because we do have from her email today, once the water started coming in, water coming through the children's room windows. So we need an update on the status of looking for a vendor to help us repair or fix the children's room windows so we don't get leakage. What happens is in front of the library, there's a gully in front of the children's room windows next to the building, then you have a fence, then you have a sidewalk, then you have the road. In that gully, it is supposed to be a place where water can go. There is a drain there. That drain goes out to about the middle of Abuzik Lake Road, and then it turns corners. And what happens is it floods. The pipe isn't that large either. It's only about, I don't know, how big is that? 4 to 6 inches maybe a little bigger. And it floods, the water builds up, leaks into the children's room window. The other thing that happens is when the town resurfaced the parking lot at the library last July, they did improve some of the grading. But just due to the contour of the land, the water comes down across the parking lot, seems to hit about where the clump room, the back door to the library is, and the water then starts to run in through the door. If the gully is flooded, that backs up into that area in front of that door, and water goes down and gets into the clump room. There's a storage room, and then there's the children's room there, and it just floods that whole area. So this evening, as we speak, they're pumping water out, and they have fans up to dry off the area. Apparently, as well, the north window is leaking. And we've had problems with the north window leaking in the past. We thought that had been fixed. However, apparently not. We also have a roof leak that has started near the express checkout. Apparently, this is an old leak where the roof drain is located. So all of those leaks will need to be addressed and looked into as soon as possible. So those are the next things. So we need to look into leaks. So that's the latest on that. This is the long-term one?
Mhm.
Oh, this one. Okay, I got you. But the leaks aren't on here either.
Well, I'm not sure that that's complete, but I did find that.
So I do think, at least on our short-term list, the leak should be added. Who's our building committee? Building committee.
This came from like I had a packet of building papers and I
Right.
pulled it.
I
back
know,
from-
that's the thing, you get some and they all look alike, and you're trying which
when you're
data
trying to read
switch. Perhaps that might be something to follow up on and to look into is, we've had trouble, when we had the north window replaced, how long ago has that been? It's been over a year.
Mhm.
We had a new window put in. We thought that they had addressed the leakage problems, and 2 or 3 times after that window was installed, we've still had leakage problems. And now here's a bit, it's usually only, when we get these very large, intense,
Driving rains.
vigorous rains where we get a high volume in a short period of time, that's when we run into problems. So that needs to be addressed. And if this leak over by the express checkout at the library is, it sounds like it's an old leak. I wasn't aware of this one. I think that needs to be looked into as well. Leaks are not good. I hope that's all the leaks we have. The one other thing I was wondering, which we need to ask of that, is if the smoke detector in the lower room, which apparently might have been clogged or dirty, which caused it to set off, do we have to have all the other smoke detectors inspected as well? I would ask about that.
I thought,
I thought they did.
I thought they
I
did
thought that's
that.
what her
Did they
message
do the
said.
whole
They did
thing?
that, yeah.
Okay,
They
so
did.
that's all
Her message said
settled.
that.
All right, so that's
And
done.
they're not gonna clean it, they're gonna replace it, so.
Yes, we had talked about that before. Okay. And then they're still looking to, the other one, the sprinkler system has tested, replaced. That's been on there for quite a while.
But she's been mentioning it, it's not like it's disappearing, she's working on it. It's just that they have to get some kind of, it's just a very old system. So they're trying to replace it along with doing something else, so the expense is a little less drastic. 'Cause people keep telling her that it's
expensive.
going, it's not fixable, that it has to be replaced 'cause it's so old.
Well, maybe a little understanding on that a little bit more will help. You think?
Sure.
It's
Okay.
from the 70s, I think.
Well, so is the building.
You're right.
Exactly.
Her director.
Okay. Anything else on the,
Right, that was from last month.
Right.
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Anything else on the building? Anybody want to mention? Poor building. No,
I want to mention the tremendous work the staff did today too.
they did a lot.
Yeah, they did.
They really
had to work
saved a lot
hard.
of
We closed the We
materials.
got closed the library at 1:00 and
By keeping it on top of it.
and there's probably still staff over there working vigorously on it, so
We're on
thank
it
you
as
for
I
all your
drove up
efforts.
right
Yes,
here,
me
and
too.
there was
yeah,
like 6 or 7 cars out there.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot, so.
And what they have 2 shop vacs and different kinds of brooms, and as soon as the water started coming in, they started vacuuming it up.
Yeah,
And I guess it'll make things quicker, but it still means days when the children's room is going to be closed.
yeah. it's
Except
unfortunate.
for-
Yeah,
Partial service, but not
well, it'll take a while for the,
the rugs
I
to
think
dry
they
out.
said 1 to
and
3 days.
I'm sorry?
1 to 3 days sometimes.
Yeah,
that's what she
I think
thought.
last time it was
Just has
a
to be
few days,
entirely
yeah.
dry.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't impact the edible book contest.
So I assume you are
I'm not, my daughter's all excited about it.
great.
About what?
She's
The
making an edible book.
contest.
Oh, yes, she does like to bake, doesn't she? Okay, policies to review.
Just the gifts and memorials. policy.
It's the gifts and memorials policy.
Can I suggest we table those until Yvette's here, just to bounce comments off her as well?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. We can table that until next time and just not even go into it this evening.
Good.
So we'll table gifts and memorials. Okay.
Other business.
That's pretty much it. You have on here for other business, board goals. Basically, we've met one of the goals this month, which was Rick was going to do our, have finished the alternate trustee guidelines process. We're just gonna edit that and it will be fine.
Still doing homework on the secretary position. I can't find a single library in New Hampshire that actually has one paid.
No, it's unusual, but
Yeah.
I did talk to the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association, and I asked them, is it okay to have a paid secretary position? She said you could, so it's a possibility. They just can't participate in non-public sessions. The other thing is you could also have a volunteer take minutes. The secretary's role there would be to do oversight, to review everything, make sure it's in order, but the volunteer would be taking the minutes. That's a possibility as well. So those are two things that we could do.
That's actually a good idea. We might be able to tap the high schools in, what's it, Interact Club?
National Honor Society?
No, there's a club.
Interact.
Interact, that's what it is. They're basically a club for kids who want to volunteer in their community.
And it's usually kids that are,
But they can also
pretty
get
ambitious.
community service hours.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a kid who wants to become like a journalist or something, that may be good exposure for him. That's something to consider.
It is. I don't know, we may have to give them caffeinated drinks or something to keep them conscious. But, all right. It's a possibility.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, every time I see something that should go into the Board of Trustees, manual,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling it out and putting it in, so, it's coming along.
Oh, good, okay. July 4th recap, we had a lot of fun. The Blues Brothers Band was
They were
pulled on
amazing.
a flatbed and played fun music for the entire time of the parade. There was dancing in the streets.
Did you stick around for them on the stage or not?
Oh, yeah, I watched
'cause
them. They were very good.
They
They
did
drove
like
it.
a warm-up, but when they actually performed, they drove their car through the
Gate.
through the gate, through the midway section.
Yeah.
And pulled right up to the stage in the cop car. It was great.
Oh, I didn't see that,
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. I think we'll table anything about the sign at the moment. And we have a landscaping quote,
Which we should table.
yeah, which needs to be tabled as well, because that needs Yvette's input. This is a proposal from P&L Landscaping regarding some landscaping on the outside of the building.
And we're tabling that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to mention that there was comment about the library being a cooling spot. The library, if it gets too hot outside, the library only becomes a cooling spot for the citizens if requested to by the fire department. So I just wanted people to understand that there's a process, and that is something that we're directed to do. And that, of course, goes through the director.
That actually, you bring that up. I'd completely forgotten about it. At the 4th of July Midway, somebody came up to me who knew I was a trustee and said, how come the library is never open on the 4th of July? Not open, but just to allow during the parade time for elderly people to go in and cool off or to use the restroom. I said, well, I could bring that up. I'm only a single voice here on the board, but I could bring it up. But Yvette's not here to bring it up too.
I think that would be better to
Yeah,
address that.
I don't know if we want
but
to
it
do
is.
that, but-
We
But
are
patrons could go to the library.
we are
and-
closed.
Yeah,
The
not-
library is officially
But what
closed on the
their
July 4th.
suggestion was not to have it open as a functioning library, but just have it open so people can use the restrooms.
But you would have to have
You'd have
staff.
to have staff.
You'd have to have staff
would have-
inside on the 4th of
There's a
July.
lot of involved in that. It's not just
Yeah.
open for a convenience.
Yeah.
Whether it was the library, the school, or the town hall, those are town buildings. They're closed on a holiday, and there would be a lot of implications for opening them up.
Yeah, but
So,
I said I would share their concerns, so I
yeah,
did.
but that can
I
be
don't
further
know.
addressed by the director.
Yeah.
Do we have, our calendar says that our next meeting is the 21st at 7 o'clock here in the Memorial Room at Town Hall. And the next Friends of the Merrimack Library meeting will be August 27 at 7 p.m. in the director's office. Are there any comments from the press, public, or other board members at this time? Okay.
Did we talk about our ad?
Oh, no, please do.
Did we talk about it earlier?
It's toward the
No,
back.
it's just that
Is this the
the
Chamber of
director said
Commerce
she was going to
publication?
bring her copy and some,
Is this the chamber,
yeah, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
this is
It's
what we
really nice.
shared.
I saw it toward the back here somewhere.
It's on that side, I think.
Yeah,
That's an article there's an article about the library celebrating 125 years.
Is there a picture?
And there's a picture of the Lowell
Section, yeah.
section. But there is,
It was after that, I thought.
yeah. And
There it
here's,
is. Next page.
oh, there we are, very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Right with our
Okay.
stuff. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice write-up. The
Oh,
ad
look
has
at
a nice
that,
little
yeah.
write-up about what we offer and everything.
And we're continuing to celebrate 125 years.
Yes, we are, for
It's
the whole
true.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
So said. We adjourn, 9:20.
You gotta
No,
vote.
9:19.
You gotta
Oh, we
vote.
got it, I'm sorry. All in favor?
All in favor? We vote to adjourn.
Adjourned.
9:20.
Okay.